Okay, so this is supposed to be about a spiritual event that changed my life, but I'm a little slow, so there'll be more than one. In December 1996, I got sent to jail for 30 days because of my kids, my separation, and things my ex-wife said about me, but that's not really true. I got sent to jail because God knew I needed to go there. It was quite an amazing experience. This was during the Snowmageddon of 1996. We got locked down in our cells. Guards couldn't get to work, and all sorts of spiritual things happened to me. But not just to me. After I got out of jail on a plea bargain, I went back to visit my cellmate. That was really hard. And I was in lockdown with. He came to the visit with a Bible in his hands and sat down. He looked at me and said, "Look what you've done to me." This was the most uplifting, amazing thing for me at that time. Actually having influenced someone to read the Bible, an incarcerated criminal was now on the road to salvation. This changed my life. It was because of what happened spiritually in jail that shortly after getting out, I went and got the tattoo on my hand from Isaiah 44 verse 5. Still another will write on his hand, "The Lord's," and will take the name Israel. So going ahead a few years to 2003, I took my daughter and some friends up past Burnt Bridge to the Coxsahalla River for a camping trip. And I remember I had been reading the book of Revelation the night before. I was reading about the churches, and as I was sitting by the river, a white stone caught my eye. It seemed quite out of place. Unlike the other stones that were all rounded, river rocks, and gray, this stone was like a white quartz crystal, and it came to mind, "I will give him a white stone with a new name on it, known only to him who receives it." So I made it into a necklace that I'm now wearing today. So over time, I looked into the white stone and its meaning, and it was the stone of acquittal, like the coal that touched Isaiah's mouth, and his guilt was taken away and his sin atoned for. And a white stone was also used for an invitation in New Testament times to like the royal ball or a gala or a wedding. This changed my life. It was about a year or two later I received a card, an advertisement in the mail about a Bible prophecy seminar at the McPherson Playhouse at Centennial Square. It was a week-long event, and I went every day. This speaker was a fast talker, and there was not a lot of filler. I was blown away by the accuracy of many already fulfilled Bible prophecies like Cyrus the Great and all of Daniel 11 fitting history so well. But the one that got me at the time was the 70 weeks prophecy of Daniel chapter 9, how it was the decree of Artaxerxes in Ezra chapter 7 in 457 BC that began the 69 weeks or 483 years to 27 AD. When John baptizes Jesus in the Jordan, and Jesus then confirms the new covenant with many for 1:7 and is cut off, crucified, after 3.5 years in the middle of the 70th week, and after 3.5 more years with the stoning of Stephen, the gospel then goes out to the Gentiles after the decreed 77s or 490 years are completed on Israel. I never heard anything like this before in my life. This was amazing. This changed my life. And I started going to the Seventh-day Adventist church who put on the seminar and learned about the Sabbath and became good friends with the pastor, Manuel Silva, at that time. After about a year or so, on December 16th, I was baptized by my pastor and friend Manuel. Now, I had been sprinkled or dedicated as an infant in my mom's Sunday-keeping church, but now this was full immersion baptism as an adult. For me and my mom's church, we would have called it confession of faith, but I was now dedicated to God of my own free will as an adult. As time went by and I learned about more than just the weekly Sabbath, and I discovered God's plan of redemption in his Moedim, his annual Sabbaths and feast days, I was all of a sudden struck with the thought, what day was I baptized? What day on God's calendar did I dedicate my life to him? Imagine my surprise when I discovered December 16th, 2006 was Kislev 25, Hanukkah, the Feast of Dedication. I didn't even know what Hanukkah was when I got baptized. But what a coincidence. This changed my life. On that bulletin on that day, I still have it, The Sabbath teaching was Jacob becomes Israel. Significant for me. Now we move forward to January 6, 2007. It's a Saturday, a Sabbath morning. It's 9 a.m. Some of you might recognize the significance of the timing. My kids are still sleeping down the hall in their bedrooms, and I am at the dining room table and on the computer looking into Bible prophecy, as that was my thing. When all of a sudden I jump up and knock back my chair as my eyes bug out on what is happening. Everywhere I look, fire. Fire on my roof, fire on my walls, fire on my fridge, fire on my cabinets, fire everywhere in rippling waves, orange like a gas fire. But everywhere I look, as I look around in amazement and shock and awe, there is an eye of a hurricane, just a little spot, like a 1-inch little spot. Wherever I turn my head, there's no flames. Then as suddenly as it started, it stopped. Now, I think this fire lasted about 45 seconds, for this was like, what was this fire? But nothing was consumed. It was like my burning bush experience, except God never spoke out of the flames. He never said anything. So what was this? Why me? What was this about? I later learned that this was the Aish, the supernatural fire of God. Well, I remember telling people about it. And I remember telling my children that I had this vision, this epiphany. I kept describing it the same way, using that word, epiphany. I don't know why. As I learned later, it means a manifestation of the divine, or a moment of sudden revelation or insight. But that was the term I was using. Of course, this changed my life. It was another year or so later, and I'm on the computer looking into the history of the church, the Catholic Church, the Eastern Orthodox Church. I was looking into their traditions like Ash Wednesday and Mary's Ascension, and I ran into a day called Epiphany. Of course, this struck me, especially as I read about that they celebrate the baptism of Jesus with the Spirit descending on him like a dove. And all of a sudden, I was like, wait a minute. I went to my keepsake calendar, and my goodness, now I was telling a new story that I had had my epiphany on Epiphany. This changed my life, especially when I discovered in Strong's Concordance the Greek number 2015, epiphania, a manifestation, especially the advent of Christ, appearing, brightness, often used of the Greeks, of a glorious manifestation of the gods, especially of their advent to help. My life became all about the second coming of Jesus Christ. It was in and around this time, maybe around 2008, I was starting to feel pretty learned about Bible prophecy and felt I needed to share it. So I got my own website and started compiling all the best prophecies. In the end, it was like a 16-chapter novel. And I must say, by the time you gather, compile, edit, review, proofread, and all these things, you learn a lot. And you could vote for Jesus on my website, which is pretty cool, considering I gave away about 400 of these t-shirts, like the one I'm wearing, Colin sometimes wears. So one time I was wearing this t-shirt at Walmart, and the employee stocking the shelves looked at me and said, "Is there some kind of election or something going on? I keep seeing people wearing these t-shirts." It's pretty cool. Another time, I was at Value Village wearing the t-shirt, and an employee was pushing a rack by me, and she saw my shirt, and she said, "Hey, I just saw a shirt over there that says, 'Jesus is my homeboy.'" And so I went over to that rack, and I found it, and the shirt was my size, and it was $4, so it was my price. So I bought it. And the next day, it was Sunday, and I was going to go with my mom to church, and I thought, hey, can I wear this to my mom's, traditional church? And, Jesus is my homeboy is a little slang, and I thought, what exactly does this mean anyways? So I went to Google, and, I just got the selections up, the blue ones, right, and you're choosing where to go, and the third one down said, "Someone who is with you always," like homeboy, someone who is with you always. So I wore the shirt. And I couldn't help but think, this is what God said to Joshua, "I will never leave you nor forsake you." This changed my life. God has said so much in my life without using words. Thank you.